Book club members buy 40% more books than solo readers, not 40% more of the same book. 40% more books total, because they're actively engaged readers who trust their community's recommendations. Yet most authors approach book clubs like they're pitching to gatekeepers, when what successful authors do is build relationships with the most influential reading communities in publishing. Here's how the data-driven approach to book club outreach actually works. If you're tired of begging for book club selections and getting silence in return, you're approaching it wrong. The authors who get regular book club picks aren't the ones with the best pitch emails. They're the ones who understood something fundamental about community marketing. Book clubs don't select books because an author asked nicely. They select books because someone in their trusted network recommended it, or because an author has already demonstrated value to their community. In this video, we're breaking down the relationship-first approach to book club outreach that turns reading groups into your most powerful organic marketing channel. And if you find this analysis helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We analyze what actually works in publishing every single week. Here's what research reveals about how book clubs actually make selections. The average book club plans 3 to 6 months ahead. They're not impulse selecting your book next week. They're looking at their calendar in March for their September pick. Miss that window, and you're waiting another year. But here's the pattern most authors miss. Book clubs don't just select books, they select experiences. When successful authors study book club selection criteria, they find the same 3 factors appearing repeatedly. The book needs to generate discussion, which means complex characters or controversial themes or questions without easy answers. It needs to be accessible to varied reading levels within the group, because book clubs include both casual and serious readers. And it needs to fit the club's identity, whether that's supporting local authors, reading diverse voices, or exploring specific genres. The data on book club types reveal something crucial for targeting. Library reading groups tend toward literary fiction and nonfiction, with selection happening through librarian recommendations. Independent bookstore clubs skew toward staff picks and local authors, with strong community connection being the deciding factor. Online book clubs, especially on platforms like Instagram and Goodreads, favor viral titles and visual appeal. Genre-specific communities want deep authenticity, not crossover appeal. Here's what one mystery author discovered when she mapped the book club landscape in her region. She found 17 active mystery book clubs within 50 miles, but only 3 were open to debut authors. The rest had 18-month waiting lists dominated by established names. Instead of pitching all 17, she focused entirely on those 3 plus 4 general fiction clubs that occasionally read mysteries. Within 6 months, she had 5 book club selections scheduled. Within a year, those clubs were recommending her to other groups. This is where smart authors start using tools like Mins for tracking. Instead of printing static bookmarks with a single URL, successful authors create dynamic QR codes they can update. Same bookmark in every book club copy, but the destination changes. January, it's pointing to discussion questions. March, it's an exclusive video message for that specific club. June, it's a preview of the next book. The book club gets personalized content without the author managing dozens of different print material. The authors who get consistent book club selections follow a pattern that looks nothing like traditional marketing. They don't start with their book. They start with genuine community participation. Here's what this looks like in practice. A romance author wanted to reach book clubs in her genre. Instead of cold emailing club leaders, she joined 3 book clubs as a regular member. For 6 months, she read their selections, showed up to discussions, and contributed thoughtfully. She never mentioned her own books. When the club leader asked what everyone was reading outside the group, she'd mention other authors' work she genuinely enjoyed. After those 6 months of authentic participation, when she casually mentioned she'd written a romance novel, 3 club members immediately asked if they could suggest it for selection. The research on successful book club outreach reveals a timing pattern. Authors who build relationships for at least 3 months before mentioning their work get selection rates nearly 5 times higher than cold pitches. But here's the nuance. Those 3 months aren't waiting. They're actively creating value. Successful authors create value for book clubs before asking for anything in return. They share discussion guides for books the club is already reading. They connect club leaders with other authors for Q&A sessions. They promote the club's events on social media. They bring wine or snacks to in-person meetings. When they finally mention their own book, it's not a pitch. It's a natural extension of an existing relationship. One nonfiction author took this approach systematically. She identified 20 book clubs that matched her target audience. Instead of pitching her book, she created a partnership offer. She'd provide free author Q&A sessions for any book the club was reading in her subject area, even if it wasn't her book. 10 clubs took her up on it. She delivered thoughtful, generous discussions about other authors' work. Within 18 months, 8 of those clubs had selected her book. More importantly, those club leaders were now actively recommending her to other groups. This is another place where dynamic QR codes create lasting value. When authors provide materials to book clubs, they can include a QR code that updates over time. Today it points to discussion questions for the current book. Next month it might point to a curated reading list. 6 months later, exclusive content for club members. Tools like Mins let authors maintain these relationships through evolving content without constantly sending new materials. Quick pause. I need 20 seconds of your time. I wouldn't interrupt if this wasn't worth it. Your book club moved on to a new chapter, but the QR code in the back still shows last month's discussion guide. With Mins, you rotate the content without touching a single printed copy. Links in the description, www.mins.at. Alright, where were we? The difference between books that get selected and books that get ignored often comes down to one thing. How easy do you make it for the book club to say yes? Successful authors provide discussion guides, but not the generic kind with obvious questions. The guides that drive selections include open-ended questions that spark debate, behind-the-scenes insights about writing decisions that readers find fascinating, and connections to broader themes that let the discussion expand beyond the plot. One historical fiction author includes a section in her guides about the real history versus the fictional interpretation, which turns every book club discussion into a learning experience. The data on virtual author appearances is particularly revealing. Book clubs that get offered a live video Q&A are 3 times more likely to select a book than those who don't. But here's what separates good author appearances from great ones. Successful authors don't just answer questions about the book. They ask the club questions about their reading experience. They facilitate discussion among members. They make the club feel like partners in the literary conversation, not an audience for a performance. Bulk purchase options matter more than most authors realize. When book clubs see discounted pricing for group orders, selection rates jump. But the approach matters. Instead of just offering a discount, successful authors create value bundles. Order 10 copies, get a signed bookplate for each member plus an exclusive discussion guide and a virtual Q&A session. The discount is almost secondary to the experience. Here's what a debut author did that transformed her launch. She created a book club starter pack, discussion guide, bookmark with a QR code linking to exclusive content, a 1-page author bio formatted for easy sharing, and a video message thanking the club for considering her book. Total cost to create about $50. She sent this pack to 30 book clubs. 12 selected her book. Those 12 clubs represented over 200 readers, most of whom left reviews and recommended the book to friends. Those QR codes in the starter pack were powered by Mins, which meant she could update the destination as her strategy evolved. Early clubs got behind-the-scenes content about the writing process. Later clubs got sneak peeks of the sequel. The same physical materials stayed relevant for 18 months because the digital content could change. Book club outreach isn't about pitching. It's about building relationships with engaged reading communities who become advocates for your work long after they finish your book. Here's your action plan. Start by identifying 10 book clubs that genuinely match your book's audience and values. Join 2 or 3 as an active member, not as an author promoting your work. Create 1 high-quality discussion guide and 1 valuable resource you can share with clubs before you ask them to consider your book. Then commit to 3 months of relationship building before making any asks. If you found this analysis helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We put out new content every week analyzing what actually works in publishing. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's been your biggest challenge with book club outreach? And if you want these strategies delivered straight to your inbox every week, subscribe to our newsletter. The sign-up link is in the description. And if you're serious about building lasting relationships with book clubs, check out Mins. Dynamic QR codes let you create materials once and update them forever, so the bookmarks you give to book clubs today can point to different content every month for the next 20 years. Same physical materials, evolving digital experience. Head to mins.at to get started. Book clubs are looking for authors who care about readers, not just sales. Show up for the community, and the community will show up for your book.